Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome back to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're excited to be joined by Blaine Little, founder and chief trainer at Momentum Seminars, Training, and Coaching. We're going to talk all about books, seminars, coaching, and so much more. But Blaine, how are you doing, buddy?
Jeremy, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast, and looking forward to the next 20, 30 minutes.
Absolutely. Well, you've got a number of books, and so everything from the 8 Managerial Challenges, the Individual Team, Civic Duty. So we're going to talk about your books, but let's start with a little bit of what you do day to day with Momentum Seminars, Training, and Coaching. So give us some background there, and then we'll dive into all the books.
Oh, gosh. I guess kind of how I first got started. Really long story short, but Jeremy, I've had my real estate license for 25 years. And when I first got into real estate, I had a particular broker, and you would go ask this person a question as a rookie, and the person would sort of belittle you for not knowing the answer. So, of course, agents compare notes, and this was kind of a set pattern. 25 years later, and I have my broker's license now, I realized that person didn't know the answer. So that was just kind of a deflection, was to kind of belittle you for not knowing it. And I said, that's just terrible. That's horrible leadership. That's horrible training. And so I did have 3 wonderful mentors, and I learned a lot from them. And after a couple of years in the business, I just started training some new agents on some things that I wish I had known my first few months in the business. And then people said, hey, you're pretty good at this training thing, so you should do more than just real estate. And I did. I branched out, and I was with a company called Skill Path for a few years, and I did hundreds of all-day seminars with them, traveled across America, absolutely loved it. And probably just before COVID, a little bit before COVID, I said, hey, this is a great time for me to strike out on my own. And then COVID hit. And so people ask me, how long does it take for you to write a book, Jeremy? And I tell them the truth, about 3 years plus a pandemic, because at that point I had nothing else to do. A lot of things canceled. I had time on my hands, and I wrote my very first book, The 8 Managerial Challenges.
Well, a pandemic does force the hand. And when you have a little bit of free time, to your point, like, let's make use of that time. And so, hey, let's dive into these books. So let's start with the 8 Managerial Challenges, because it's for first-time managers. Yeah. Talk about the focus of that book.
Well, it really is first-time managers, and I'll present some of this material at different functions, some networking, rotaries, whatever. And a lot of people will say, my boss has been in management for 12, 15 years. And of those 8, number 3, number 5, number 7, and 8, they commit on a daily basis. So I'm like, well, okay. So it's a good refresher for anyone in management. There was a study done a few years ago. It was ordered by Forbes, and it was carried out by Career Builder. And what they found out, Jeremy, was 58% of all new managers in America have had no managerial training whatsoever. Not just a little, none. So they never had a management course in college. They never, studied at any other place. It's just someone who is a good technician. And they said, hey, you're pretty good at what you do. Why don't you teach everybody else how to do what it is that you do? Well, that's a completely different skill set. But you have a lot of people in management who just need some help. And so I identified 8 common challenges that people have, one of which is micromanagement. They think that they're being a good leader, good manager, if they sort of look over the shoulder of everyone else, and that's just not the way to do it. And another one, just off the top of my head, is what I call the individual team. It's just, you have to understand that a team is not just a big group. It sort of is, but it's made up collectively of individuals. You have got to know every single person in there, and you've got to know something about them personally. And you have to understand what motivates them and how to work with them, communicate with them in different styles. So that's just kind of, I bring some of that. You can go to college and you can learn planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. But, my book kind of teaches, how to not make your team mad at you. Let's just start there.
Well, and how to bring out the best. I mean, just to your point, getting to know each as an individual, the gifts they have, the strengths, the weaknesses, so that you can get the best out of them, just like a sports team. And so carry that into one tip or takeaway from the book. And that can be around micromanagement. That can be around the individual team. That can be something, a different one. But give us one tip or takeaway that's kind of a fun teaser.
Well, I'll just say micromanagement, I like to call it training your people for failure. Because if you don't allow them to do things in their own style, and if you don't allow them to make mistakes, then they're never going to learn how to best do that job themselves. And they're just going to say, hey, I give up. I'm going to go board because this person is going to come behind me and change everything anyway. Why should I exert the effort? So that's what I train kind of against micromanagement. Here's what you should do.
So another book is Civic Duty, which plays into very heavily what we do at City Current in terms of powering the good and promoting volunteerism and active engagement in the community. And so talk about Civic Duty in that book.
Yeah, so Civic Duty, this was one that I wrote. It's not really a business book. It's more on volunteerism. But ever since I was a teenager, I've been involved with some sort of a civic organization. Years ago, when I was a teenager, I was in Civil Air Patrol and Boy Scouts. And then I was really involved with my fraternity, and then just really involved with my church, and just a lot of these other different clubs, Rotary, Lions, whatever is out there. And they do a lot of good, but a lot of times people don't necessarily know how to run one of these clubs. And much to my surprise, there's never been a book written, as far as I can tell. There's never been a book written on how. There's a lot of interior resources. You can go to the website at Rotary Club and it kind of tells you short order what you're supposed to do, but nothing really tells you how to start a club, how to maintain a club, how to grow a club. And so I just kind of have a lot of knowledge that I've built up through the years, and I decided to write a book on that. And so that's my latest book. It just came out the last part of last year, and I'm very, very happy about that one.
Well, and to your point, a lot of times it's volunteers running a volunteer organization, right? And so you kind of jump in and you learn by doing, and so action creates clarity a little bit. But to your point, you don't necessarily know, okay, what are the better ways? How do I run it? Just back to management, right? Like, how do I run this efficiently? How do I reach out and grow? Like all of those things that it is great to be able to share, because when you talk about creating a vibrant, volunteer-driven organization, you need them to be successful to be able to help lift the community, because so many other nonprofits rely on volunteers to be able to power the good and, fulfill the mission, bring the mission to life. Share maybe one kind of tip or takeaway from that book and in the scope of, how can we help activate and be more effective with our organizations?
Jeremy, a big theme that I'm hearing from a lot of different organizations, Lions Club, Kiwanis, I've gone to these district and regional club meetings for Satoma, is that they're having a hard time getting younger people involved. So ideally the millennials. And if you study demographics, just a lot of the different generations that are out there, millennials especially are really wanting to do something to empower their community. But they're not, the clubs are not going to where the millennials are. They're not appealing to them. And so what the mindset of the millennials is that, oh, well, this is just like some stuffy old boardroom or some, where you sit around and you dictate what's wrong with the covenants or the bills of the Bill of Rights of the club or something like that at the time, which unfortunately a lot of clubs spend way too much time on their own interior constitution. But you've got to meet them. If you don't have say an Instagram account, you're not gonna be able to reach them. Personally, I'm a little leery of TikTok, but look, millennials are on TikTok. You got to go there if you want to find them. And you have to paint a picture for them of what they truly can do. They're fine with coming to meetings, but they actually do want to get their hands dirty and do something. So, when's the next fundraiser that you're going to do? And especially if you can find a way to make a fundraiser fun, they're all over it. They're just all over it. So that's what you have to do, is you have to pick a different approach. And it's less about the strategy and a little bit more about the action, because they do want to get involved, and they want to see the results as well. They want to be able to see the results of what they do.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Carry that into some of the things that you're working on currently, because I know interpersonal communication is something that is the next phase for you. And so talk about some of the upcoming books, the topics, the things that you're focused on.
Yeah, but the three segments of the professional development that I deliver are leadership, team building, and better communication skills. And so I've got the one on leadership. I have a book called The Individual Team that just came out of the first chapter of my management book. I started writing this chapter, and I said, I think I have a whole other book. And the third book that I'm working on currently, I pray it's going to be out early fall, is on interpersonal communications. I don't even have a title for it yet, but that's what I'm going to be doing, is just more of a deeper dive of understanding how people communicate. And if you want to exchange ideas, truly exchange ideas with people, you have to communicate on their level. And we don't think about that a lot of times, Jeremy, because we just think, well, this is what I said, and what I meant made sense to me. Well, did it make sense to the receiver? And so in that one, I'm going to be talking about how to deal with conflict. I just did a section, actually, I did a presentation of it, which was really well received, on the 5 phases of manipulation. And so how to know whether you're starting to be manipulated and how to deal with that, because a lot of times we don't even know it. Our heartstrings are pulled, and, days later you're asking, why am I doing this? But just those sort of things, anytime that you have to interact with some people, yes, management, but even your colleagues especially. Like I say, hopefully that will be out in the fall.
Talk about kind of the wheel that you've created, because by doing the workshops, the seminars, the training, the coaching, it opens up your eyes on new topics for books. By doing the books and writing those, the soul searching, the research, the curiosity leads to new topics and things that you can weave into the seminars and the coaching and the training. And so talk about this kind of ever spinning wheel that you've created in terms of how it helps you grow, but then it also expands and, greaters the impact for what you can deliver with the coaching and the seminars and the training.
Well, and I've been a trainer, and I've led teams, even teams within real estate and a lot of other environments. But I think I've learned a lot, probably more so just from being a fly on the wall of some of these other organizations, and able to point out, see instantly, oh, here's what you're doing wrong. Here's what's not being delivered. So sometimes I will be called to come into an organization, and the person booking me may say, well, here's the challenge that we have. People really just aren't doing what it is that we want them to do. And so we think it's a management issue. And then I get there and I kind of find out, well, it's more of a communications issue, because they're not really clear on exactly what it is, and at least to what level it is that you want them to do something. So we got to kind of clean that up a little bit. But yeah, people bring me in. I do speak publicly, but a lot of times they're on-site workshops that I'll do for organizations who are kind of suffering with growth. They just, they're growing too fast. Their managers aren't exactly sure how to maintain. No one's really taught them how to communicate with people individually, and the team and productivity suffers because of it. And that's where I come in, and I'm able to help with all those aspects.
touch on where we can get the books, touch on to like the next steps. So for someone watching or listening that says, hey, this sounds really exciting, I'd love to look at you as a speaker or to produce and, create the seminar, the workshop, the training. What do those next steps look like?
Sure. Yeah, so just and my books are available on Amazon, but you can just go to my website, momentumseminars.com, and you can find my books there. There's a tab that says books, and you can find out more about me, and we'll just touch base, and we can talk about exactly what your pain points are and what I can do. So if I put all my curriculum together, I have over 50 hours of workshop material that I can pull from, but I'm going to customize it to exactly what your pain points are, your challenges are, and to give you a solution that you need. But just going to momentumseminars.com, that's a great place to start.
Well, mention again, because you never can say it enough in the world of media, the website, and then, social media, email, any other contact information that would be helpful for everyone to know.
momentumseminars.com. And yeah, I'm on social media. You can find the links on momentumseminars.com, but I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, X, now it's called, Instagram. So I try to be pretty prominent out there so people can find me. And all my contact information is there, 615-513-6443. If you want to call me direct, but all my contact information is at momentumseminars.com.
Well, Blaine Little, founder, chief trainer, Momentum Seminars Training and Coaching. Once again, the books, the 8 Managerial Challenges, the Individual Team, Civic Duty, and much more to come. So thank you for all you do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for having me. I really appreciate this.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.